Haliburton's got the ball. Haliburton rises up. And there's a whistle. Oh, my goodness. Tyrese Haliburton hits a three and is fouled.
You have got to be kidding me.
McConnell underneath the basket. Looking. Toppin in the corner for three.
Oh, yeah! Yeah! OB!
Pacers have it, a chance to tie.
Yeah, Nembhard
Hits the three. Nembhard gives Indiana the lead.
Hello and welcome back to the Pacers Fever Show, your home for all things blue and gold during this Pacers 2025 playoff run. I'm your host, Logan, and today we are here to talk about Game 4 and preview Game 5. On Sunday night in Milwaukee, the Indiana Pacers came back laser-focused after a Game 3 loss and left with a statement win, taking Game 4 over the Bucks and seizing a commanding 3-1 series lead. Tyrese Haliburton was once again the engine, and we got one of the best, if not the best, Myles Turner game of his postseason career. Now it's back to Gainbridge Fieldhouse with a chance to close it out in front of the home crowd and punch a ticket to the Eastern Conference Semifinals against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who await the winner of this series after sweeping the Miami Heat. We've got a full game analysis, standout performances, and what to expect heading into a potential series clincher in Indy. So let's get this thing started. Number 4 Pacers versus the number 5 Bucks. Game 4 goes to the Pacers, 3-1. Pacers win it, 129, Bucks 103. It was an absolute blowout and a offensive showcase for the Indiana Pacers in Game 4. They'll head to Indy and play the night, I guess you're listening to this on Tuesday. So tonight they play at 6 p.m. Eastern time on NBA TV or FanDuel Sports Indiana. It's one of the last games I think that the crew is on a game. The localized TV will not be covering the NBA playoffs next season as part of a TV deal, but I don't know if Game 6 or Game 7 will have FanDuel Sports Indiana should it go longer than Game 5. If it does, Game 6 is on Friday, May 2nd. In Milwaukee, time to be determined. And then Game 7 would be Sunday, May 4th in Indianapolis. But hopefully the Pacers can close it out tonight, Tuesday, April 29th, and get that series win to move on to a Cleveland Cavaliers team that they don't really need an extra day or two of rest over the Pacers. So the Pacers need to take care of business tonight, April 29th, in order to move on and get ready for what will be a great series against the Cavs. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about Game 4 and then previewing Game 5 and the storyline for Game 4. Pacers dominate the Bucks in Game 4, and Dame goes down with a torn Achilles, out for the season, and it does not look good for the point guard who will turn, I think, 35 coming up very soon. Does not look good for his 25-26 season, which is very unfortunate. We really hate to see guys go down with injuries, and I just kind of want to preface all of this by saying that our thoughts are with Dame. Hopefully he can get some recovery time and get back quicker than I think what is planned for him over the next year or so. So I'm hoping for a speedy recovery. You never want to see a guy go down, no matter if he's on the other team. And how much love is lost between these teams is still, you don't want to see it. You hate to see it. And the Pacers have had their fair share of very difficult injuries with Paul George, with Victor Oladipo, even the Tyrese Haliburton hamstring injury. I mean, you hate to see players go down like that. And Dame, one of the best point guards to play and one of the best clutch players I think that I've watched in my time watching the NBA. Just some of those series that he had. I think it was the Jazz series years ago where he was with Portland. And I think he ended 2 series with buzzer beaters, which was amazing. You don't find a more clutch and honestly a more humble player than Dame. I think he always had that chippiness to him, but he really took care of business. And from everything you hear around the league, one of the nicest guys. So our thoughts are with Dame. Hope he can come back and be healthy and give this Bucks team a boost, because their future is very bleak. They do not have a lot of draft picks. They have a lot of players that just don't fit in that system. And it really was apparent and evident in this Game 4 loss on their home floor teams that go 3-1 in series and win 95% of the time, they move on and advance. I think the Pacers, I think they said they were 7-0 in those games where they can close out a series ahead 3-1. Only 13 teams have completed the comeback in NBA history. So the Pacers would be making history if they unfortunately lose this series, which we're hoping is not the case and doesn't happen. And yeah, I think if we can jump into game 4, we'll get previewing game 5, because game 4 was about 3/4 of just complete dominance for the Indiana Pacers. They stepped on the gas in quarter 3 and really finished it out in quarter 4. But in the fourth quarter, it was all but over, in my opinion. So Myles Turner started this game really off on a heater. I mean, he really did something that I think the Pacers have been waiting for. And in games that Myles Turner has performed like this, the Pacers are almost impossible to beat because of the ability of Myles Turner to be able to shoot that three and also take it to the rack when guys start to come out on him and close out and contest him quickly and do not really get set. Myles Turner oftentimes will go right around them and towards the basket, and as he did on Giannis, and put Giannis on a poster with a slam dunk. And I believe it was the start of the second half when he did that. I think it was within the first 10 to 15 seconds when he posterizes Giannis. It was an amazing dunk. And I mean, Myles just from start to finish had the most complete game that I think I can remember Myles Turner ever having. It was an incredible performance. In the first quarter, Myles had 9 points on 4 or 5 shooting. He had 1 free throw make. He would go on to lead the Pacers in scoring 23 points in game 4. For the game, he was 9 of 13, 69%, and 1 of 3 from behind the arc. He also added 4 blocks and was great defensively around the rim, especially when Giannis was there. The Pacers did a fantastic job guarding Giannis Antetokounmpo in that first half. I believe he only had 6 points in the first half, was just not getting his shots. Airballed one from the elbow. The Pacers were causing him all sorts of problems. I think the biggest difference that I noticed with the Pacers defending Giannis, and very much so in the first quarter, you noticed this, guys were flying at the rim to try to contest Giannis layups. I mean, you had Pascal Miles, or times where Aaron Nesmith was under there getting up a hand, trying to get Giannis to go up over all of them together collectively. I mean, there were times where there were 2 or 3 guys in the circle under the rim. So it was just, you could tell it was concerted effort to get to the rim to contest Giannis layups. And Myles had 4 blocks. He got a couple of them. Giannis is, I think, the most frequent flyer as far as the blocks are concerned with Myles Turner. He's always been able to get to Giannis's ball much more than other players, I think. But that's because Giannis always gets tons of shots the rim against the Pacers, and the Pacers have never been that great at defending Giannis. So that adds to the ability. If you got more volume to block, you're going to get more blocks, I think, at that point. But I mean, Myles completely changed this game early, and you could just tell early on that he was going to get his early shots. There was turnaround jumpers. There was one jumper. I forget when it was. It was right around the baseline. Myles I think he faced up against, was it Bobby Portis or maybe Kevin Porter Jr.? It was somebody that the person defending him wasn't really thinking he was just going to turn and shoot, and he just flat out right in their face shoots, hits the 2, and you could just tell that Myles was feeling it. I mean, it just becomes so difficult to guard the Pacers when he's got the ability to score 20 points, because you have to worry about him on the pick and roll, pick and pop. You've got to worry about him coming down the lane, cutting in the lane. He was hitting shots right around the free throw line. He was hitting long 2s, which we don't see Myles shoot a ton of. You see more of 3-point shots from him, or some finishes around the rim. He's very good at taking it on his right hand to the rack, and he will get fouls. He's not really afraid to go in and try to flush it on somebody, no matter who it is. And oftentimes it's getting fouled and going to the free throw line. But just the intensity that he played with, you really have a hard time stopping this Pacer offense, because Tyrese Haliburton can come off those picks, and then you have to make a choice whether you're going to try to stay with Myles or stay with Tyrese. Are you going to switch that? Are you going to try to fight through the pick? Are you trying to drop and go under the pick? There's just too many options. And then Tyrese Haliburton is an excellent ball distributor and finds open guys off those picks because there's a lot of help coming from the weak side and even on the strong side of some of those picks where guys are trying to cut off and hedge over towards Tyrese, because when Tyrese was attacking the rim like he was, and that was a big difference. Tyrese was a completely different player in game 4 that we haven't really seen in this series, where he just took off going towards the rim. And we've talked about this multiple times. He's more dangerous when he can get to the rim because it creates so much havoc and stress on the defense where bigger guys are coming over to have to help and try to stop him from getting easy layups and contest. Tyrese loves to flush it with his right hand. And then once guys start to shade off of him and try to stop him in the lane and cut off that drive to the basket, he kicks it out to those wide open corner threes or just over off the side. And it really is. It's difficult to play this Pacers teams when Tyrese and Myles are playing as the best, 1-2 combo for, I guess it'd be 1-5 combo of the pick and roll option. But that 1-2 punch of he and Myles in this game was just way too much for the Bucks to try to handle, because then you have to worry about everybody else too. So this is when the Pacers are most effective, when they can get Myles Turner going. And it's going to be a huge difference in the Cavaliers series if Myles can continue to score 15 to 20 points and be aggressive, be intense, be the leader that Myles can be. He's the longest tenured Pacer. He's been here the longest. He is he's a veteran in this league. He's a tremendous shooter. He's got the ability to change the game defensively, which he's going to have to do against the two bigs in Cleveland. And I think this is a great start. This is a really good sign for the Pacers. Last year, he was very effective in that Knicks series because of just his intensity, his will, his drive to get to the basket, his ability to play smaller guys when they try to put smaller guys on Myles when a lineup tries to go smaller. Cleveland's a very big lineup, and I think this can play into the Pacers' hand if Myles has the ability to stretch those bigs way out to the arc. It allows Pascal to do things around the rim as well, where he can do those maneuvers where he can go up and under guys, which is what Pascal is trying to do. He's trying to get to the rim. He's also playing that mid-range game, and it clears out a lot of space when Turner's up there setting picks for Tyrese, when he's allowing Pascal to kind of float beneath him. And there's too many layers there where the defense just doesn't know where to go. And that's the benefit of having 5 guys in your starting lineup that can get theirs. And that's what the Pacers have really become, especially this year. I feel like in the last 2 or 3 months, the Pacers starting core has been unbelievable. I was looking at a plus minus. I couldn't find it when I was looking it up. But I think they're 4th in the league, and the Cavaliers starting lineup is 2nd. I think it was ranking out of 5 teams, but their starting group plus minus. I mean, the Pacers are a really good team, starting core, and because they can attack you in different ways, from different angles and different people, and you have to worry about 7 guys scoring points, 8 guys scoring in double figures, 9 guys scoring. I mean, it just becomes way too difficult because who do you stop? Like, if you stop one, the other one's going to get going. So this is what makes the Pacers, and very reminiscent of that Spurs team with Ginobili, Tony Parker, Ori, even the days of David Robinson. Like, the Spurs built I would say built a dynasty or close to a dynasty with that core group, because they just had way too many options to try to stop. And teams just could not figure out who was going to punch, where they were going to punch from. And they move the ball. They wear you out when you're trying to defend teams that pass the ball as much as they do. I think I saw a stat where it's 126 team assists for the Indiana Pacers in this first round, which I think is first in NBA history for a team to do this. And I was looking at a graph too, where the amount of passes that lead to or amount of assists and passes that lead to scoring opportunities or points scored. And all these teams are kind of around that middle axis. It's a 4-quadrant table, and it's all positive for the Pacers, and it's tremendous. I mean, you look at it and you wonder, how a team like that can stay that consistent for so long. And they've done it for 2 years now, where this offense is, they've never really gotten that greedy person that just tries to, um, score 40 points all the time. And I think that changes the dynamic of an offense. I mean, when you're playing some of these teams, where the points are going to come from. That's easier to try to shut off than a team that's got a seven-headed monster that can all score double figures or more. Well, double figure, they want to go to triple figures, but you know what I mean. Scoring in double figures, but scoring more, like 20, 30. Like, you can have games where Neesmith could score 20 something, could score 30 something with the heater that he's been on from three. Pascal, same thing. Tyrese, same thing. Myles, same thing. Obi Toppin. I mean, these guys can put up big numbers, but they're not. It's the offense is not reliant on you know Myles scoring 25 and Pascal scoring 30, like the Bucks, who are very reliant on Giannis getting at least 35, especially in this series. I mean, and we'll talk about what the Bucks need to do to try to get a game at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, which is very difficult. I think the Pacers are 13 or 14 of their last 15, 14 or 15. So they've lost one game in that last stretch of games at home. So again, a very tough team to beat on the road. And now the Bucks have given that advantage back to the Pacers of being able to just close the door. The Bucks will now have to win 3 straight to try to beat the Pacers. But long-winded, Myles Turner, Tyrese Haliburton in Game 3 were not good. Myles, probably the worst playoff game that he had, and then Game 4, probably the best one he's ever had. So a complete shift in dynamic, and Tyrese Haliburton finally looked like the Tyrese Haliburton that we've had over the last couple of months, that was distributing the ball, was getting his shots up, getting to the rim, forcing the defense to try to figure out where he was going next. He was taking the ball to the left side. They've tried to eliminate the right side of the court. I mean, if you look at all the film, and I was watching Caitlin Cooper and Sam break down on that podcast, break down what the Pacers needed to do in Game 4, and now recapping Game 4, they did exactly what they were supposed to do, and that was getting Tyrese comfortable where he was going left. And that's a big change for Tyrese, because he's way more effective going to his right hand, his strong hand. And going to the left side is, even though you're a professional point guard that should be able to go to the left side, and any good star point guard would be able to go to his weak side and make things happen, he was very effective in that, getting open shots, getting to the lane, getting what would be contested looks from three, taking those defenders with him, opening up those 3-point shots where they're not contested, or not contested as well anymore, because Tyrese is able to break that down and get into the weak side where they might need help trying to get to Tyrese. So there were so many things that he did well that I think, and this is part of what I believe, or this is why I believe that Tyrese kind of gets this reputation of being overrated, and even by his colleagues in that survey, I think there's just no understanding of what he truly does for a team, and they just look at stat line, and a stat line screams, that he's a very good point guard. You look at the assist, probably one of the best as far as consistent and assist to turnover ratios and the history of the NBA. But guys don't really look at assist. A lot of guys are just looking at the points that he scores, right? A star player is supposed to score a ton of points, especially in today's NBA. You're looking at, if I say, who are the stars of this league, you're going to point out the in superstars and best players in this league, it's always going to be guys that score a ton of points. We've kind of gone away from this traditional point guard, a John Stockton. And even back then, John Stockton, I think, was seen as a great point guard, but there were much better players in other people's eyes, considering the fact that John Stockton wasn't like this huge, 30-point, 40-point game kind of guy. I mean, he had those moments, but he was a distributor. He was getting other guys involved. Whereas I think it's the same thing with Tyrese. I think that's why he gets the notion of this notion of like he's not a good offensive player, because of the fact that he does only score, 15, 20 points, and that's it. I mean, that's usually a high for him. And in this game, he had 17 and didn't play the whole game. Obviously, was pulled because they were way out in front. Played 33 minutes, and I think that was the most on the team Yeah, most on the team in game 4. But again, when Myles and Tyrese are that number one combo, and they've oftentimes been in this league in their time together, where they've been the number one combination for pick and roll and pick and pop, that is when the Pacers are most effective. So they need to continue to find that rhythm and find that offense through Myles and Tyrese. Pascal's a great player. Aaron Nesmith is going to hit shots. Andrew Nemhard can create his own shots, get those middies that he loves. Hits threes. He's hitting at an impressive clip, and the 3-point category, a clip that which he didn't really see in the mid or in the season, the regular season. I think he was below a 30% shooter from three. But it all goes through that heart and soul of that offense. Really, besides the pace, tends to be when it does not go as it is going. Myles Turner and Tyrese are the ones that can change it. And sometimes you don't need the extreme pace or play at that extreme pace when Myles and Tyrese are able to break down a half court defense or a zone because of their abilities to stretch the floor and make things very difficult for teams. Myles does it in a different way against zones where he's hitting threes, and Myles is very good at getting into the gaps and trying to get guys to kind of break down in that zone defense, and you have people trying to double up or close off those gaps, and Myles is able to get into the middle of those and penetrate those, where he's also able to stretch out and hit a three, and that brings defenders out towards him, and then that leaves very little protection because you're bringing a big out to the 3-point line who can't usually defend Myles at those points. And when they do, they get a little overzealous and they try to defend him, face guard him, and Myles goes right around him. So he's just it's a game changer. He's an X factor, and we talked about this when we were previewing the series that he and Bennedict Mathurin, I thought, were going to be the X factors. I'd lean more towards Myles just because of Brook Lopez, and he's completely eliminated Brook Lopez out of this rotation for the Milwaukee Bucks. I think if you're Doc Rivers going into Game 5, you pretty much can't play Brook unless it's going to be in a set where you need a couple threes, and he can do it in spurts of 2 minutes to just give guys breaks like Bobby Portis and Giannis. But I mean, he's just completely unplayable at this point. And Myles Turner is the reason why. So again, their defense was really good in this one. Once again, in that first quarter, they kind of let up and let the Bucks back into it. Pacers had a 6-point lead, but by halftime, the Pacers looked really good. 63-52. They were up by 11. It was kind of like that. Okay, we've seen this. We saw this in Game 3. Can the Pacers hold on to a double-digit lead? Because oftentimes in the season, that's been something they've allowed teams to get back into games when they probably shouldn't. And that's exactly what happened in Game 3. But in Game 3, the difference was there was no offense. The Pacers had no offense going in that third quarter. You look outside of that third quarter, and you look at all the halves. I'd say the Pacers dominated all those halves. It was just one quarter that really kept this team from sweeping the Bucks out of the playoffs. And that was that quarter 3 of Game 3. They come out in the third quarter and they absolutely step on the gas. This is when you had the Aaron Nesmith block when he goes up and gets Bobby Portis to block. Tyrese Haliburton scores on an and one after Portis's layup was pinned. And I was scared Aaron Nesmith went down like towards the stanchion. I was like, oh no, not an ankle or a leg or something gruesome, because he laid back there and the camera didn't show him, but you could see he looked like that moment of like, oh no, I'm hurt. But then it went back to him, and come to find out it was actually his back because the way he landed. I think it scared him more than anything, just because, I mean, all of his momentum was going towards the backboard and into that stanchion, and he wasn't able to kind of put on the brakes. But luckily, I think what happened, and usually this is kind of a bad thing, but one of his feet slip at the end when he's going down. And I think what happened is that his feet kind of went out from under him, but it was enough to where it had stopped him and slowed him down where his feet stopped him. But then the momentum of his upper body was kind of going forward too, and it kind of slipped, and then he lands backwards on his back, and then came up, and he kind of pushed himself up as in like a push-up position, and then he's just kind of grabbed his back like, ow, that hurt. But then he was back in the next play. So after Ty had made it, he was back at the free throw line in the huddle, and He didn't come out of the game, I don't think right away, but I think eventually he did. And then you can see him kind of over there grimacing. And then they reported on it actually that he was questionable return, but then he was back in the lineup, I think, right after they had reported what was going on. So just a minor concern, but really good block. I mean, it might be the best block I think I've ever seen. It was and he's had a couple of these where he just flies back and he's so athletic and so fearless. And honestly, and Tyrese said this, that he's, you don't have many people in this league at all that would be willing to die for the game. And he said Aaron Nesmith is willing to die for this team and for this game. And that just says a lot about Aaron's competitive nature. And let me tell you, I mean, I think Pacer fans appreciate Aaron Nesmith, but there, and I guarantee you the national media really won't. But Aaron Nesmith, since the start, and when he comes back from that ankle injury, when the Pacers were going bad, it was because Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard were not there. And once those two came back, I mean, this team is up there in that upper echelon of the league, of top 3 or 4 teams in the league, and has been since January. Has been one of the best teams in this league. You put them in the ilks of OKC, Cleveland, and Boston. I mean, they're right up there with those 3. And it's because of Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard. Andrew Nembhard takes his game to another level in the postseason. I think he's just that kind of player where in the regular season, you kind of go through these lulls, and he's not an excellent shooter, so that it's difficult for him to put up high volumes of shots with confidence that he's going to score a lot of points, just because he's not a great shooter, especially from the outside. Now, get him a mid-range shot or get him going towards the rim, he's one of the best, but he does struggle to hit threes. And in a regular season, you're not at full intensity trying to get to the rack. And, you rely heavily on 3-point shots. But in the playoffs, I feel like there's more focus and emphasis of getting to the rim and getting to your shot. You take it more seriously, more focused. And I think Andrew Nembhard is that player, is that dog in the postseason. Aaron Nesmith is quickly becoming just that guy. I mean, that guy that's going to hit 40% of his 3-point shots. He's going to get you 15 to 20 points. He's going to rebound. He's going to defend the second best player on the court and shut him down. He's going to give you that physicality, that edge. He's mean. He's a dog. And Tyrese has talked about it. Pascal's talked about it. Myles Turner's talked about it. He's that guy that shows up every day, ready to compete, ready to do anything that he needs necessary to win you a ball game. And they have 2 of those that play off of each other very well, in Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith. Those 2 are just a different level of intensity. It's an edge that the Pacers, I think, were lacking last season, where they seem more willing to be dogs this year. And I think it's because of that experience. They're not afraid of the moment. You never find that Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard are afraid of the moment. And they've got guys like that up and down this roster. And you could go through and name a bunch of them. And I think Jarris Walker's entering that conversation too, where these guys just don't seem fazed. Ben Shepherd, TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, like they just don't seem fazed. Pascal. It's amazing that the Pacers have built a roster like this in a market that you really can't get the star players to come to Indy. I mean, you can trade for guys like Pascal, who's I think is one of the most underrated players in this league. But like, you're not really convincing star players to leave and go here. You got New York, you've got LA, you've got more enticing locations to go play basketball and live. And this is where the Pacers have to build, and they build with youth, just like OKC. I mean, I think you see a similar version of what the Pacers are in OKC. I think Shea has more experience than Ty, obviously. So and Shea's a whole different level of what a guard looks like. He's not as much of a distributor as Tyrese. He's more of that scoring point guard. But they complement their team so well. And these are smaller market teams that really have just taken advantage of finding good pieces in trades and pieces that have kind of been left for lost. And I love that about this team. Pacers head to the fourth quarter, the final frame, up 17 after Haliburton finds Obi Toppin for a layup to kind of end that third quarter. I think it was like 2 seconds left when Obi hits that shot. And up 17 in the fourth, and it looked like just complete dominance. I mean, the Bucks weren't getting anything offensively. If they were, it was coming from Giannis. It was coming from sorry, I almost blanked. Kevin Porter Jr. I'm calling him Kerry. Kevin Porter Jr. had his game where you kind of figured he would eventually have a game where he scores over 20 points, and he looked good. He's creating his own shot, 71% from three. 9 of 17 from the field was Kevin Porter Jr., 52%. So that's a really high clip. Giannis was 9 of 20. I guess I didn't really realize that he'd taken that many shots, but he only ends up with 28 points. Something that was really weird. I mean, over the last 2 games, I think he's been at 90% free throw shooting. I think he was 9 of 10 in game 3, and in game 4, he's 10 of 11. He's been a factor from the free throw line, which he hadn't been. He's been a 60% free throw shooter throughout his entire time here in the NBA. And really, he'd start some of these games 4 of 4 or 5 of 5, and all of a sudden he'd just miss all the rest of them and end up right at 60% without fail. But last 2 games, he's been solid from the from the free throw line. He had 15 rebounds. But again, it's weird to say 28 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists. Quiet game for Giannis. He just did not have a good first half at all. One of the worst first halves I think I've ever seen him play, especially against this Pacer team. He usually just runs through us. So it was good to see for the Pacer fans, not so good for the Bucks fans. And this game ends up being a 129-103 beatdown at home for the Bucks. And you could just tell after the Dame injury, the life in the arena just kind of got sucked out of it. And it just, by the end of the third quarter, people were already starting to leave. And, it wasn't a good feeling for the Bucks. Halfway through the fourth, I mean, that arena looked like it was a game 56 of a team that was struggling to find a play-in game to play in, trying to fight for that 9 seed. The Pacers just absolutely handled business, dominated, were great defensively, hitting all their shots, hitting their 3-pointers, getting rebounds. I mean, this team did everything that they could possibly do. 36 assists, which is crazy. Absolutely nuts. When you look at the totals, the Bucks only had 25 assists for the team. This Pacers team, they're starting to get it going. This offense really but aside from that, game 3 performance where really they just struggled to hit shots. They were getting open shots. They just weren't hitting. You take that out in that game 3 performance. I mean, games 1, 2, and 4, they've been just as good as they were last year. So it's a scary, scary sight for, I think, teams in the Eastern Conference, because if the Pacers continue to play like this, they are a very difficult out. And I think Cleveland and Indiana will be one of the best series of the playoffs. And that's coming up if the Pacers can take care of business and eliminate the Bucks. It's not over. I'll never say it's over. You've got Giannis. You got the best player in the league, in my opinion, here, Jokic. And anything can happen. Giannis could drop a 50-piece. I mean, that's how good that guy is and how scary he is against these Pacers. But you look up and down what the Pacers did, and if they get performances like this. So let me just read you some stats and talk about some of the scoring. But Nesmith, 14 points. He was excellent. 5 of 8 from the field, 62%. 2 of 5 from the 3-point mark, 40%. Pascal only had 12 points. He wasn't really that involved, but again, that's solid when he doesn't have to carry the team. It's good to kind of get him a break and the other guys get going. 5 of 10 from the field, 0 of 2 from the 3-point line. Myles Turner, again, 9 of 13, 1 of 3 from the 3-point line, 23 points. Andrew Nembhard was really good in this one as well. I think it kind of gets overshadowed by how well Turner and Haliburton played. Nembhard had 8 of 14, 57%. He was 4 of 8 from 3-point line. That was 50%. That's crazy for Nembhard, who's been really struggling to shoot the ball this year. 20 points. Haliburton had 17 points on 6 of 11 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, 40%, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. Who else? Jarris Walker, 4 of 5 from the 3-point line, that is. All of his shots came from 3-point land, and he hit 4 of those. He shot at 80% and 12 points. And when I'm saying he's hitting 4 of 5 and 80%, besides obviously the miss, the 4 makes I'm pretty sure hit nothing but net. I mean, his shot is so sweet, and there's so much confidence right now coming from Jarris Walker. At this point, like, give me 4 guys off the bench. Give me Jarris, give me TJ, give me Obi, give me Ben Shepherd. Like, give me those guys. I would ride with those. Nine deep. Like, that's deep. That's going to run teams into the ground just because that's a lot of players to play in a rotation. But I think they're all playing well. I mean, the bench is finally coming alive in a really good time. I thought that TJ McConnell had a great offensive game. Obviously, he's going to be exposed defensively. He's just not a great defender. But I think there are matchups that are better for him. I think the bigger guards that Milwaukee can deploy on him are kind of difficult for him to kind of stop that. But when you look at a Cleveland team who he might be guarding like a Darius Garland kind of thing, like that's an easier matchup for TJ. Kind of those smaller guards that really aren't looking to create a whole ton at the rim, or those bigger guards that just take advantage, shoot over him. TJ, I think, is better defensively in a Cavs series than he is against some of these Bucks wings. He had 15 points, and he was 7 of 10 from the field. He was hitting his shot. He had a 3. That was really big because he was hitting 3s last postseason pretty well. I mean, he would take 2 maybe a game, but he was hitting them at a good clip last year, which is really odd for him. He just doesn't shoot 3s. He doesn't take 3s. He doesn't like to shoot 3s. So teams will just let him. And if he's hitting 1 or 2 a game, like that's a difference maker, because then he causes so much problems, because then you have to try to come out on him, and then he's just too quick. Obi Toppin, 5 of 7, 3 of 4 from the 3-point line. He had 13 points. And then Ben Shepherd only had 3 points. He did hit a 3. He took 4, so 25%. Not great, but Ben did so many things in this game that I thought were very important. He's great at staying in front of his guys. He defends really well, rebounds pretty well for a smaller guy. He had 3 boards, which will be crucial in a game coming up against the Cavs, if that's where the Pacers head, just because the Cavs are going to rebound. They're bigger guys. They have those big, tall towers in there. So, and Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. So that'll be important. Those guys getting rebounds. Another thing I want to point out: Tyrese Haliburton had 8 rebounds. He almost had like a triple double in the first half. It was crazy. He was and playing at an insane level. And chirping with Bobby Portis. I mean, he really was feeling good, and I would not be shocked. Just kind of a spoiler, I would be not shocked if Tyrese Haliburton has a really big game in Game 5 to close out the Bucks. So, speaking of good transition, let's preview Game 5. Let's talk about some of the Bucks adjustments that can be made. And it's tough when you're on the brink of elimination. What do you do? I think you go into desperation mode, right? So Bobby, Kevin Porter Jr., AJ Green, Gary Trent Jr., and Giannis, that's got to be the team that you go with. I mean, 90% of the time, and you try to play them as many minutes as possible without them getting torn or worn. I just feel like you've got to have each of those guys above 33, 34 minutes just to be competitive in this game, because that bench unit for the Bucks, when there's a combination, especially with Dame out now, when Giannis has to go off the floor, I think the Pacers could really do some damage here in home, especially in Game 5 with all the momentum they have from Game 4. Giannis, I think adjustment here, Giannis needs the ball even more, which is crazy to think. But, I mean, they're going to have to run him into the ground at this point to try to win 3 straight against this Pacer team. They would feel much better if they could steal Game 5, because that puts them back on their home floor where they really could get hot like they did in Game 3 and steal and force a Game 7 to go back to Indy. But I think to do that, they're really going to need Giannis to have one of these historic performances where he's just unconscious, like lights out, doing what he needs to do. And I think he can do it, obviously. I just don't know. I don't know. He was very defeated after Game 4. And I think we can have that conversation in the offseason as well, because it'll be a conversation that's happening all offseason with Giannis and these Bucks. But I think he sees the writing on the wall. This is it. This is it for this current version of the Bucks, and this might be it for him in a Bucks uniform. There's too many things going on around this Bucks organization that just that reek of just dead in water. I don't know where they go from here. I think they said that they don't control their own draft picks until like 2032. They have these they have an expiring contract, and Brook Lopez, I think Bobby becomes a free agent at some point soon. I think Gary Trent, I don't think he signed a huge contract where I think he's got 2 years on his contract or something. So this team is a disaster. And with Dame now out, what looks like for the 25-26 season as well. And even if he came back, it'd be way later in the year next year, where he really wouldn't even be that effective. And a smaller guard, I mean, that's what's unfortunate about this is for a smaller guard at 35 years old, it will be 36 next season. Towards the end of that next season. This is such a difficult thing to overcome, and especially for a smaller guard where, people always compare it to like Kevin Durant. He was fine and he actually recovered pretty quickly from his torn Achilles. But Kevin Durant's, 7 feet tall, and he's got a wingspan that's crazy, out of this world. So he can get shots over guys and he can play more of that low to ground game. Whereas Dame is all about that spurtability and the ability to get by people and his jump shot. He gets major air on his jump shot. So he's much more effective with his speed and his ability to move and jump and be athletic. But at that age, with an Achilles injury too, and then you have to worry about the blood clot issues. But the Achilles thing, like, it's not like it's the first year that he's dealt with this. Like last year, he had that same issue. It was more of a strain on that Achilles. And now, he had calf issues, which lead to, calf strains and different. Once you start to get into those muscle issues and torn Achilles, you start to put pressure on one leg, and then you take it off that leg and put it on the other, and then that leg could have it. It's just not a good time for an Achilles injury. Not that there's ever a good time for it, but unfortunately for Dame and unfortunately for the league, I don't know if we really see Dame come back to anywhere close to what he was. So it's sad. It's unfortunate. But this Bucks team, just mentioning this, Giannis knows this is, backs against the wall. Losing, you're out. Losing, you might be out. Milwaukee, your time in Milwaukee could be done. It'll be a conversation that he and his agent will have. He and the GM and that staff will have is, what does the future look like in Milwaukee? Because you can't trade Dame. There's nothing there that anybody would really want. I don't think there's anybody on this team that maybe a Gary Trent gets like a second round pick or a random throw-in player or something like that. Or, Bobby Portis might be somewhat enticing to a playoff team, but you're not going to get tons of stuff from that. Second round picks, or it just becomes so difficult. And this Bucks team it's a disaster. It's a complete disaster right now. So the Pacers will look to stomp them out and fear the deer no longer. I think this Bucks team is headed for some territory they haven't seen in quite some time. So, but yeah, I think that's what the Bucks need to focus on, is getting Giannis the ball and say, all right, big fella, this is it. Like, you save us or we're out. And by out, we're out. It's going to be really ugly. So defense needs to be an emphasis. Slow the Pacers down. They've not really been able to do this in any of these games, even though they deploy that 2-3 zone or that 3-2 zone or matchup zone. It just hasn't worked. The Pacers have been able to bust it with guys like Myles Turner, with Haliburton, with TJ McConnell, with Jarris, with Pascal. They're able to break it quite easily. And even Nembhard too. They're able to get out and get their own shot still. And I think that's just tough for the Bucks, because that was their only way of really slowing this team down. They just don't. They're not a good defensive team. So that's the issue. They don't have anybody that defends well except for Giannis, but Giannis can't do that for 40 some minutes. So yeah, they've got to play better defense, but I don't see that coming from this Bucks team. Maybe more fight in this first quarter coming out in Game 5, because they know that they're on the brink. But and they did kind of come out like that in Game 4, but Brook Lopez was out halfway, almost a half court, trying to face guard people. So there was some intensity there. You could see there was an uptick in defensive intensity, but this team is just not built to defend more than 10 minutes. So they just they have guys that score, and scorers don't typically like to defend too much, especially role-playing scorers. So and then get the ball out of Tyrese hands. This is something that I think you got to do. And, the Cavaliers will try to do this but the Cavs don't really have that lockdown defender either. as far as the guards are concerned. They've got the best defender as far as the big man, but he's not going to be guarding Tyrese. The thing you do with Tyrese is you face guard him from full court, and then everybody else gets back, and you just keep the ball out of his hands and let somebody else bring it up the court, because then that delays the start of our offense. And that's where they've been very successful. The Celtics did this quite a bit last year, from what I remember. But there's just not that many defenders out there for teams that we're going to have to play that I think could do that to Tyrese, except for maybe Derek White. So we'll see, but that's what you got to do. I just don't think the Bucks have that ability. They'll be able to force, like Gary Trent will be able to force him to go left, but I don't think Gary Trent can do that for the whole game, where he's face guarding, keeping the ball completely out of Tyrese's hands. But even then, I mean, Andrew Nembhard in a playoff series, he's so good at creating things that I don't think it would be much of an issue. I just think it would be a lot different for the Pacers, and that difference might just be enough to throw the offense off a little bit. Pacers adjustments. What do you do? Do what you did in game 4. I don't really have any adjustments because of how good game 4 was for the Pacers. I guess the only thing that you could say is make sure that you don't just let off the gas and let the Bucks into it, but that's not really an adjustment. That's more of a key. So speaking of, let's get into the Pacers keys, since there's not really any adjustments that I'd necessarily make. There are some keys to this one. Energy early at home, get out to a good lead, jump out to an 8 to 10 point lead in the first quarter, and just stomp on their necks. Because I think if you come out of the first quarter, you're up 10-12, and you just stomp on them defensively, which I think the Pacers' defensive intensity will be really good to come out in this game 5. I think that you can just absolutely crush the Bucks' soul in this first quarter, because once they're down, they're out. Like they won't have that ability to come back. Not in a 3-1. Like they'll demoralize them. And that's what my next one is. Step on the gas, demoralize the Bucks early. Get ready for the Bucks' best punch in that first 5 minutes, because they're desperate. They don't want to go home. Well, they do want to go home, but they want to go home for a game 6, not go home and pack your bags for Cancun or wherever they're going to go. Don't do anything stupid, Pacers. I have this feeling that if the Pacers do get out to a good lead, or get a really good second or first half lead, close out the second quarter, that the third quarter could get really chippy, and Bobby Portis is just waiting to cause problems. I could see somebody getting thrown out in this one, because I just think that the Bucks are a ticking time bomb at this point, and the Pacers could react to it. And being young, I just don't, because you react to it, something happens, or you get a suspension or something like that, or you start to accumulate some of these technical fouls. You can get suspended for technical foul accumulations. So just don't do something stupid where you're going to cause problems. Let the Bucks blow up. Like they more than likely will go quiet if you just knock them out with a knockout punch and you don't say anything. They're going to go quietly. It'll just look really sad on that sideline. So just let them do it. Let them sit in their emotions. Get Myles and Ty going early. Once again, do exactly what you did in game 4. Pick and rolls. Get Myles going. Get him his shots. Get him some wide open looks from 3. Do what you need to do to really put the pressure on the Bucks to try to fight and claw in desperation mode. Because I feel like they can quickly get out of themselves and start to shoot themselves out of the game and just take themselves out. Where we really just, all we have to do is play our brand of basketball, because I think the Bucks they're willing to give up at this point. It's just, you saw it from that moment the Dame injury happens all the way through. They just never had that same intensity again. Like they know their season's over. Just end it. So I'm feeling good about this one. So we're going to get into 5 predictions. So I do this every game. 5 predictions that I have, and we'll see if I'm right or wrong on some of these. I actually want to visit last games. 5 predictions. Gary Trent will not have 37. Bobby did not have 28. I mean, that was an easy prediction. They both were pretty bad. Tyrese will have his best playoff game so far. I said 20 plus points in game 4. He didn't have 20 points, but he probably would have had he played the whole game and they didn't blow him out. So I'm going to give me that one because he was so good. Myles would hit 3 threes. He only hit 1, but he was a key factor. Pascal will have a double-double. I don't think he was close because he was out pretty quickly 3 rebounds, 4 assists. So no double. And the Pacers will win game 4. I did get that one right. So game 5 predictions. 5 predictions for game 5. I'm gonna say Myles Turner has another 20-point game in this one. I just feel like he's on a high. I'm gonna repeat a prediction from game 4. And game 5, I'm going to predict that Myles Turner hits 3 threes at home. He's a great shooter at home. I feel like he would really energize this crowd. So I'm going to go 3 threes. He's going to have 20 points. Those are 2. I'm going to say Tyrese Haliburton has another double-double, which is probably pretty easy. But I'm going to say this time he goes 15 points, 15 assists. I'm going to say that it ends up being like that, like a 15-15 kind of game. What was that? That was 3 game or 4th prediction. I'm going to say I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm going to go with Jarris Walker has over 10 points again. I'm feeling confident with Jarris. And then game 5 prediction, 5th prediction. I'm going to go Pacers win, and I'm going to say the Pacers win by 20 points. I'm going to say it's another blowout, and the Pacers smack out the Bucks with a 20-point. Because I feel like, I do think that there obviously is a lot of love lost between these two teams. I feel like this could be a blowout and 20-point blowout because I feel like finally the Pacers can deliver one last absolute, haymaker, deliver it to absolutely knock out the Bucks for good. Like to the point where they're going to consider training Giannis. They're going to consider blowing this thing sky high. And I think the Pacers, because of the villain they've played in the Bucks story for so long the last couple of years. I mean, this team, we've played almost 20 games over the last 2 years together. They don't like each other. This is and this is why I think the Bucks could finally implode because they've got nothing to lose at this point because they're gonna eventually lose out of this series. But I feel like the Pacers could just absolutely devastate and demoralize all Bucks fans and Bucks players. And they've been waiting for this moment. The Bucks thought they had an edge back because they take 3 of 1 from the Pacers and should have taken four of the games this regular season. I just feel like this has been a long time coming. This is brewing. The Pacers are just going to absolutely deliver one final blow to this current Bucks team, and they will not look the same the way it's set up, this team could probably not look the same for the next decade. I mean, that's how bad this situation is going to get, I think, with Milwaukee. So, yeah, do it, Pacers. I mean, it's been fun. This has been a fun series to watch the last 2 years. The two of these teams going back and forth, and just the 90s like atmosphere that you've gotten with these two teams. And I think that's kind of returned in these playoff games. And I do think that this Cavs series, because they play each other a lot too, I can see this Cavs series getting chippy too, because there's some physical guys on that Cavs team. Donovan Mitchell doesn't like the Pacers. I just feel like there's something there too. We just haven't seen them as much. So we'll get to see them. I think the Pacers win this one and win it handedly and deliver that final blow. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. How have you liked the series? I mean, this has been a lot of fun, I think, for Pacer fans. And this offense is really starting to click at the right time and was clicking over the last 2 months. But in the postseason, I finally feel like we're figuring it out. We're getting to that point where we were last year, where there's no team that wants to play these Pacers. And I think that'll be the same going into the next round, should the Pacers get past the Milwaukee Bucks. But yeah, this has been fun. I'm looking forward to game 5. Again, that's tonight I guess tonight, the night you're listening to this podcast. I recorded this earlier, but you're going to be able to see the game at 6 p.m. Eastern time on NBA TV on FanDuel Sports Indiana. So tune in, check that out. I'll be live tweeting or live Xing or whatever you call it nowadays. I'll be posting on X. So if you want to follow along and chat there, I'm going to put this episode up. I'm hoping to have it up on, I guess it'll be on Tuesday afternoon, like around noon or 1. So that way you got something to kind of listen to at work or on the way home, prepping for game 5. I almost thought about putting it like live at Well, no, I'll probably put it up at noon ish or on Tuesday, so that way you guys can have it to listen to on your way home or commute home or on lunch breaks or whatever might be happening on Tuesday. Um, yeah. So thanks for listening to this podcast. We are on YouTube at the Pacers Fever Show. You can see a visual of the show over there on that platform. You can also find us anywhere that you find your podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Um, we're on those two, and then other platforms as well. I think those are the only two that I've ever heard people using. So those are where you can find us there. We're on socials at the Pacers Fever Show on all Facebook, X, Instagram. We will start to do some TikToks. I'm just probably will start to do that with the Fever season that's coming up. Speaking of which, I will cover the Indiana Fever. They start their preseason, I believe, this week in a couple of days. So excited about that, and looking forward to covering that team and the WNBA. So that being said, if you're interested in the WNBA, follow along. We'll be doing Pacers and Fever on this show. I won't miss one or the other. We'll be doing both and covering both the same. So we'll be doing the exact same kind of thing for the Indiana Fever. If you're interested in joining the show as a co-host, I am always looking for people to join. You can do the Fever, you can do the Fever and Pacers, or you can just do the Pacers, however you want to do it. If you only watch the Pacers, that's fine. If you only watch the Fever, that's fine. I'm looking for co-hosts to join these podcast episodes. It helps me. And then one last thing, if you are watching on YouTube or if you're listening to this podcast, make sure to head to the ratings and rate us on Apple Podcast, on Spotify. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment on YouTube. It helps people find the show, helps Pacer fans like you want to build this community. We've got a great podcasting community. I mean, Locked On Pacers is great. Basketball She Wrote is great with Caitlin Cooper and Sam. You've got Setting the Pace. You've got the Sideline Guys. You've got Scott Agnes. So you've got some great outlets. I just love the community, that Pacer community that exists on socials and in platforms. So I'm looking forward to joining that same kind of community and building that same kind of community where we can all get together and discuss that. But again, if you're looking to co-host and you want to jump on and be part of the show, or if you just want to guest spot, just message me on X or Instagram or Facebook, and we can talk about you jumping on the show and recapping either some of these game series, previewing some of this stuff. Just let me know. But I appreciate you guys giving it a listen, for watching over on the YouTube version. Pacers, Bucks, Game 5 coming up Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern time, looking to close out the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Pacers looking to advance to another Eastern Conference Semifinals against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Good luck tonight, Pacers. Join us talking on X. We'll be there watching the game. And I guess one last thing, go Sirs, baby.